All right, here we go. Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming miniature live stream. What we're going to do today is I'm working on my. Oh, okay, hold on. I have to adjust my camera's focus because I noticed it was doing that number, which is an autofocus, which is perfectly fine, but I don't want it to autofocus. There we go. So, how's everybody doing this morning? Still morning here in Tennessee. It's 11 o'clock. I will be painting these Militia here in just a few seconds. I took some time to get all the paints out that I was going to need or use for this unit. I might or might not expand that and go over, but uh, I just visualized what colors I was going to put on these and I pulled them all out. I like to do that to prepare myself for the painting, right? And then that way, as I finish a color, I can put it away and it kind of like I can see the progress being made. Um, you know, what do they say? A minute of preparation uh, will save you an hour of contemplation, or so. I don't remember. But okay, so it's Tuesday morning. I'm doing Land of the Free. I'm only making 3 bases of 6. Each popsicle stick that I do for 15s, I tend to do uh, 6 on a stick, so that works out perfect to 3 bases. Um, these are Blue Moon. These are Blue Moon miniatures. They're not Old Glory. It's I'm branching out, uh, and once I get these guys painted and stuff like that, I should be able to compare them to some of my Old Glory figures. Plus, I should have some Stone Mountain and some more Old Glory coming in when I do. When they get here, then I'll do an actual like what's in the box comparisons, size comparisons, and detail comparisons and stuff like that. But just to let you know, just to kind of give you a heads up on these guys, the bases, when I talk about like the bottoms of their bases, are mostly round. A lot like your Flames of War, World War II. So that, but maybe a little bit smaller, maybe like 8 millimeters, not a full 10 millimeters. So that makes it, they're going to be pretty easy to put on a base. There's not going to be like these super long or super skinny, type bases, except for maybe that guy right there. He's got an oval shaped base, but the rest of them all have round. And that kind of excited me in that if I wanted to, I could fit those down inside of a Flames of War base hole, right? So if I was using Flames of War bases, um, I could fit them in the holes, and that would be okay for like my skirmishing Indians. If if the Indians have little round bases, I might actually put them on a Flames of War base because now I've got some Flames of War bases with 5 holes, uh, and so I could put 5 on a base, and it would look like the Indians were skirmishing because they have these. Because all small units are supposed to be in skirmish mode. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it when I get them in. Uh, well, actually, I have in. Do I have Indians from Blue Moon? I don't think I do. I think I have Old Glory Indians coming in. Um, Maybe I need to place an order for some American Indians for from Blue Moon and see how they come in. Hmm. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Um, it. I had this idea. Um, this is just this is just me talking with you guys. If you want to chat, go ahead and chat. I have the chat up. I have a little widget that lets me put things on the screen, if you chat with me, so everybody can see your chat, even though they probably can if they're watching the show. Um, I had this idea for Napoleonics. If someone in the universe, someone out there, Wargames Atlantic or Plastic Soldier Company uh, or anybody that does Napoleonic figures, uh, if you could do a plastic range of 15 millimeter, is there anybody out there that does 15 millimeter plastic Napoleonics? No. There is Warlord, and they do 13.5 millimeter plastics, but they don't do them as individual figures. They do them as strips, which is kind of a shame. I wish they did them like Wargames Atlantic did their Samurai. Wargames Atlantic did a 10 millimeter Samurai plastics, uh, and they didn't. They do them in strips, but they have a variety of lengths. Like there's 5 men, there's 3, there's 2s, there's even individuals. So let's say you personally wanted to have 6 across. You could take 2 3s, or you could take a 5 and a 1, or something like that. Whatever would fit on your basing style. Uh, but I think 5 across is like a really good number for a base. I would probably resize bases for 5s. But that's because they weren't really designed for any game specific. And then you could put as many depth as you want, right? Um, I think they are recommending a 40 by 20, which that's perfect. That's like meg size unit base sizes. And in 10 millimeter, I could live with 10 millimeter if you get a ton of figures. And okay, but getting back to the Napoleonics, if they did something like that in a full size 15 millimeter, I would be all over that because it would it's compatible with all these other manufacturers that do 15 millimeter. Warlord uh, screwed the pooch when they made it 13.5. I was excited to get their epic scale Napoleonics until I found out that they were 13.5, because there's no buildings out there that are compatible with 13.5. Zero. There are no other manufacturers. Well, Plastic Soldier is starting to do 13.5 ancients, uh, but those are 3D printed. And so, and I'm not a fan of 3D printed models because they tend to um, look they look 3D printed. You can tell that they're 3D printed. I actually prefer metals, to be honest, but I understand the cost effectiveness. If every one of those was plastic, I would be creaming in my shorts, right? Um, and I wish there was a base company that made bases Okay, let me back up. I don't wish a base company was making this. I wish I had the resources to commission maybe a plastic miniature company to make 15 millimeter Napoleonic figures. Uh, and we could start small. We could start with like just French line infantry and then go and because there's so many other 15 millimeters out there that people would be able to use their own 15 millimeter collection. But I would want them in plastic and I'd want them with a tiny foot base so that you could put them on a figure base and get them close or as far apart as you want. But then I would also, maybe from that same company or another company, probably the same company, make a base size that would be compatible with my rule set, right? And then put little holes, a lot like Warlord, not Warlord, a lot like the Flames War bases, so that you could just pull a base out of the pack. They would be in two rows, and they would be straight lines. And then you could just put your figures in those holes, and it would be perfect. And the Flames War medium sized base is actually a good sized base, I think, for maybe a Napoleonic unit. I have some without holes, and you could glue them on the top in any combination that you want. You could even put cavalry on that size base. It would be like a 40 by 30, right? It's pretty close to that, a 40 by 30 base. You could put two ranks, maybe even three ranks of units, and I could even do it in American War of Independence. Any rank and file. I don't want to do 7 Years War. I don't want to do Crimea. Nothing like that. Don't want to do Civil War. But American War of Independence or Napoleonics would be the perfect musket, musket and ball and musket or whatever you want to call it, type game on those bases. You could put like 6 figures on a base in 2 ranks, or maybe 12 figures if you really cram them in there, or something like that. And I think plastic would keep the price down. It would make it so that you could do huge units, on a small dime. I think it would be like a great, and then I could box sprues of these units, and then include in the box a unit card that would give the stats of like French line infantry, what kind of pluses and minuses and movement and stuff like that it would have on the card. And yeah, I think, maybe some granite, maybe an old guard, maybe some light infantry, maybe some British foot, maybe Prussians and Russians or whatever. It doesn't matter. But I would really love for anybody out there to start a 15 millimeter plastic line. Because I don't anticipate having any resources. I guess I could do a Kickstarter, but then um, I'd have to have everything lined up ahead of time, and I don't know how much it would take, $100,000 or whatever to get going. I don't know. So sorry. Just wanted to do that. Um, and then I could, if I, like, let's say Land of the Free with Osprey or whatever, I could do a collaboration maybe with them and say, I'll do figures for the American War of Independence. I'd like to put Land of the Free on the packaging and include like unit cards and stuff like that, or whatever, Or I could do it with my own rule set, and then that will uh, spark an interest for someone to buy my rule set. It'll also put incentive behind me to actually finish writing those rules. Okay, this is kind of going to be a rarity. I'm going to start with flesh. And I'm using flat flesh. I have been using like basic skin tone and doing like a 50-50 mix with basic skin tone and flat flesh, because you will see that they are not the same. This is basic skin tone. This is flat flesh. I'm doing flat flesh strictly. I've got like a hole on my spinner over here. There's 10 holes in each quadrant. I have a whole quadrant full of different flesh skin tones. Radiant flesh, elf flesh, centaur flesh. This looks like a flesh. It's in the wrong spot. Nope, that's salmon. Okay. Yeah, but I got a whole bunch of other. I got basic skin tone. I got light flesh, dark flesh, sunny. What is it called? Sunny flesh, and then I have something called oh, barbarian flesh. Okay, these guys were all primed using the Vallejo gray. Now, oh, wait, before I get started, because I just felt it. I got band-aids on my fingers. They're kind of a preventative. Not They're not necessary, but I have them on there because I have a tendency to get blisters on my fingertips when I do like an 8-hour painting session. I'm not going to do an 8-hour painting session to you guys. You guys don't have to be here for 8 hours. Okay, if you come for the store newsletter, I put a bunch of Old Glory figures, 25 millimeter, 28 millimeter, Napoleonics and American War of Independence. Because there was a time in my life that I was doing a lot of 28 millimeter AWI and Napoleonics, and I still had a bunch of figures left over. So I went ahead and put them in a Ziploc bag and put them on the store. I still have a lot more, but those were all full units. Okay, I always forget this one thing, and I know I didn't pull the color out. Hair. Yeah, and this is, I don't know, I miss it every time, so I should remember it by now. And I don't care if I get it on the musket, and I don't care if I get it on the jacket, because I still have to paint the musket and the jacket. And on the heads, I don't care if I get it on the hair, the hat, or the jacket, because I still have to get it on there. Okay, I put a large lot. The auction is probably over with, or maybe it ends today. If nobody bids on it, I think I will put it on auction one more time. Maybe lowering the price as a start, because I put a pretty high starting price on the first time, because I know the value of it's over $100, but I put like a $35 starting bid. I might put it back on there for like a $10 starting bid, because I know I don't usually auction stuff off, but I know that low starting auctions get eyeballs, and then people start bidding on it. Like they say, how much would I be willing to pay for that? Maybe $50, and then they'll put a $50 auction bid on there, hoping to get it for 10. And then somebody else will see that the same thing, and they'll put like a $40 bid, saying that's how much they would pay. And then eBay would automatically jump it up to like $41. And the original guy that bid 50 would be winning at 41. And the guy that bid $40 it'll say you're not the top bidder. And he might say, well, damn, I really wanted those. Maybe I'll put a 51, and then it'll jump to 51. And the guy that bid 51 will say, oh crap, am I willing to spend more than 50? And at that point, you've got them locked in, right? You've got them, what do they call, engaged or fully immersed into that auction. And so you might, it might actually go up higher than 35, or higher than I, anticipated or wanted. So that's probably what I'm going to do. And if that doesn't work, like if nobody bids on it, then I might break it up into smaller lots and put a buy it now on the lots. They're not painted. They are assembled and primed. And that's it. I was planning on doing Gates of Antares. It has a pretty cool lore, and I was dissatisfied with Warhammer 40K because of the bad blood that I have with Games Workshop. And if you're curious about my bad blood with Games Workshop, you're welcome to ask me, and I'll be willing to talk about it. But it's kind of a long story, so I'm not going to get into it unless you ask, right? And what do you guys think of a video stream, maybe in the evening in Tennessee, that is, where I have a couple of friends jump on the stream and we stream weekly or monthly or something where we talk about gaming and modeling. I don't really... Okay. I don't really think that'll be a success. Or I should say an option for me. Because I have friends that game and miniature game and paint and stuff like that. But they don't want to be on stream. So there's a couple of my friends have anxiety when they get online. If they have to have their camera on, they don't, they'll talk. That's not a problem at all. But they don't want to turn their camera on. They're self-conscious about their appearance or something like that. Or they're afraid that people will ridicule them or something. Oh, these blue moons have some serious detail on them. I didn't realize they had this much detail until I primed them. I'm very happy with these blue moon miniatures. I will do a little close-up when we get a few more colors on them so that you too can see the details that I'm talking about. But damn, I'm seeing buttons. Wavy. Oh, I was going to say this earlier, but I got distracted when I said they were blue moon and all that. They had little or no mold lines or flash. These guys came out of the bag. I washed them, soap and water. And because that's what I normally do. I open the bag of any metal miniature. I wash them with soap and water. I scrub them down. And then I let them dry. And then I go in with my X-Acto knife and actually the first thing I do is I take my metal file and I file the bases flat. That's the first thing I do, so that they'll at least stand up on their own. And then I go through with my X-Acto knife and I delete all the mold lines and flash and burrs and anything else that's on any metal miniature. And when I did that on these guys, the only place that had any burrs or flash were the tips of their hats. Normally you would see lines that go down the sleeve or the pants, but not on these guys. Now this is the only bag of Blue Moon that I've ever done, so I can't really compare. I don't like to compare with only one bag. So the next bag that I open, well, I did some, you can see over here on these horses, well, maybe you can't, they're off camera. There's some Hessian mounted officers. I went through all of my, and they give you 6 in the bag. And when I went through all the scenarios that I own from either British Grenadier or Land of the Free, I didn't look through the Warlord Rebellion book. I probably should. But Land of the Free and British Grenadier, I looked through every scenario and tried to figure out how many generals I would need to play the biggest battle with the Hessians, right? And I went through and went through and went through, and I found one battle. I think it's Camden, but I can't remember exactly which battle it was. But I found one battle that needed you know what? Since I've got so much flesh already prepared, I'm going to go ahead and do these mounted. And these guys are also Blue Moon. But they're Hessian, and they're not called generals. They're called mounted officers. Which they could be generals or they could be colonels or whatever. But I went through all my scenarios and I found one that had an overall command, not an overall commander. Well, a group, not what do they call them? Yeah, a force commander. And 3 or 4 group commanders, brigade commanders. So it was like one division general and 3 or 4 brigade commanders. Now, I don't think these guys wear gloves. I'm going to paint the flesh on their hands. Not like Napoleonic generals. They all had these gloves. And if I need to repaint their hands white, that would be no problem at all. Yeah, these guys, you had to glue them on to the horses. But again, the horses had a little line of, what do you call it? A line of mold line. It went right down the back under where the saddle was. I still cleaned that off just so that the saddles would sit better on the horse. Not that you would ever see it, because you wouldn't. But other than that, these are very clean models. I'm super pleased with them. Now, I didn't do a side-by-side on my Old Glories to see if one was taller than the other. But they seem like they're pretty good, just as a casual observer. Now, in my Freeman's Farm battle, there's only one brigade commander, and that's Ridicel. right? He's under Burgoyne's command. And so really I only need one brigade commander for that battle when we're talking about the Germans. Now, alternatively, I considered, and this would work because I would put 2 figures on my division general and 1 figure on my brigade commanders. And so with 6 figures, I can do the 1 division and the 4 brigades. Right? And that's why I went through and looked. Because if I could only find, if I had an extra model, you know, like if there was only 3 maximum brigades, then what I would have done is put a figure on horse inside one of my regiments, right? Just to kind of make it look cool. But now I'm not going to be able to do that because I need 4 brigades. That's only if I plan to do that battle. It's a pretty big battle. Bunch of British, bunch of Americans. But you never know. That's why I'm not going to do it. Okay, well that's the flesh. And then I can take flesh and put it away. All right. Give me a second. I discovered a new monster flavor. Orange Dreamsicle. And I fell in love immediately. This is like my 3rd box in as many months. Now, it's not the sugar-free diet one or whatever, but it so I try not to drink too much of it. But what it does do is it tastes good. Believe it or not, it tastes like orange sherbet. And it also gives me that energy. It gives me vitamin B and carotene. Says reserve, which this is reserve, is straight up original monster in a new flavor. Powerful punch, smooth, easy drinking, creamy orange sherbet flavor. Athletes, musicians, anarchists, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, bikers, and miniature painters dig it. You will too. That's me. Okay, so not only did I put some Napoleonic, I put some Perry Agincourt figures up. I put some this is green skin. Oh, viewage just dropped. See, I have a chart that goes across my screen and it shows how many people are viewing. And for the first half hour, it looks like we had a bunch of people in the chat or watching the video. And now it just dropped. I don't know. Did my stream stop or something? Looks like it's still live. But if nobody's on there, it's no big deal. People can watch it on the catch up. Okay, I'm not going to put this in a hole. I'm going to put it off to the side. And only a drop. Because what I'm doing is, let's see here, if I did 1, 2, yep, 3, yep, these are all going to be my pant colors and jacket colors. And I'm going to, because they're all wearing civilian clothes. So each figure or now some of these guys look like they're wearing maybe French and Indian War or 7 Years War. It's about the same time, right? French and Indian War, 7 Years War, it's all the same. They might have been, because that's kind of the uniform. Like, he might have been a veteran of the French and Indian War, and he had a uniform in his closet. And when he was, these aren't Minutemen, even though they could be. I'm painting them up as militia. They came in a pack called Militia. And it doesn't matter if I get it on their gaiters, because some of these guys actually have gaiters. And it doesn't matter if I get it on the jacket, because as you already know, I've already painted, or I'm sorry, I haven't painted the gaiters or the jacket yet. And I'll just paint over any overpainting that I do. Okay. I saw a picture of one of the guys. I saw a picture of a militiaman wearing striped pants. Well, guess what? I'm not doing that. There's no need for that. Now, in the Freeman's Farm battle, there are 2 militia units. But one of them is the Green Mountain Boys. And they are well equipped. They were a militia that someone, I think it was Sept, who financially, maybe it was Seth Warner. Oh, wait, we got a chat. Hey, Brian, how you doing? You made it. I've discovered a new paint. It's light Prussian blue. And I really, really like the color. It's a lot like Vallejo's dark blue. You can see it right here. Light Prussian blue. It's one of my new favorites. For Napoleonics or American War. I guess you're supposed to put dark Prussian, then Prussian, and then highlight with light Prussian. But I don't find the need to do that. I put light Prussian on there, and then when I wash it, it darkens it up. And I've tried it already with a couple of other units. Maybe like the Continentals. And it works perfect. Yeah, I'm putting these big drops down there, and I think, okay, do I need a light blue? Okay, while I think of that, I'm going to go ahead and do brown. Because I don't want them to have too much blue. Okay, I'm hearing air, but I'm not getting any paint out. What's going on? Okay, maybe this needs to be shaken up quite a bit more. All right. Well, it looks like Brian's doing okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. Are you working on anything or just listening? Are you currently at work? What's going on? Everybody can answer. If you're, like where are you located in the world, and are you currently working on something, or are you just relaxing or whatever? Now there is a mixing bowl in here, and I don't hear it, so maybe I really do need to mix this up quite a bit. There we go. And that was super thick. Maybe I can put just a drip of water. I don't want it to mix in with my green there. And it's okay if it's a little thin. I was going to mention this with the green, but it's okay if it's a little thin, because then it'll kind of act a little bit like a speed paint, in that it'll, with this light gray, it'll highlight the raised areas. Okay, now some of these guys have boots on, and some of them have gaiters, and some of them have trousers, which is good. I mean, Militia should be a mix. And they have 3 different types of, or styles of hats. They have the round hat. They have a round hat with the side folded up. And then they have the tricorn. Well, I guess it's called a cocked hat. Now I'm using pale earth on these pants. I'm also going to use the same colors on jackets. I'm just going to kind of randomize their attire. Okay. Now, normally I should be able to paint these guys in one day. I've noticed that my Land of the Free project, I would spend one day cleaning the models, you know, and then the second day I would paint them. And I would only do one unit at a time. And they would, you know what? I'm going to put these right there. But with the color, switching that I'm having to do right now, taking me that little extra time to switch the colors. And this is light gray. Almost all my colors for the pants and the jackets are all going to be lighter tones of whatever color it is. Because I'm thinking in my head, in my brain canon, that their clothes is either faded or that the wash will darken it up. Oh, come on now. Okay, that could be a gator, but I think it's just his trousers with a draw cord right below his knee. Like his lower leg is tightened up, like he's wearing a tight pantaloon or something. So I'm just going to paint the whole thing gray. Well, this guy's got some baggy pants. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to use the light blue. For pants, yes. For jackets, no. That looks like it sealed up. Okay. So I've got this paper clip here that fits right down in there to open up the nozzle. Alrighty. That doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to look. Why I pulled it out. That's what she said. Now, when I put these guys on the stick, I organize them by pose. So that's why I'm switching sticks, because I'm switching poses. Even though they only have like 3 of any one pose. Some of them only have 1, some have 2. Almost all of them have 2. But there are a couple of poses that had 3. But this way, it prevents me from putting the same pant color on the same pose. But this one has like command and stuff, so. And I noticed with the brush on primer, I have to do 2 coats. Because I think that, whoa, I almost dropped that. I think the brush on primer shrinks. Because I've noticed no matter how thick I put it on, it doesn't dilute the detail of the figure. It like conforms to the model, unlike some other primers and paints. And but I also noticed that when it shrinks down and grabs the model or whatever, it kind of opens up areas and the metal starts shining through. So I have to do a second coat of primer. And I use a pretty stiff brush and I almost scrub it into the model. Okay, well, I'm done with this color. I'm not going to do jackets with this color. Too light. There we go. Oh, that was an air bubble. Dang it. That wasn't like a full drop. That was just like an air bubble. There we go. Oh, much better. Now, on some of these pictures, the gators were actually colored. You know, they're not all black or white. They were various tones. But I'm going to make them black. And if I ever want to go back in and adjust, I can always add color to the gators. Okay, I see a problem already with this light blue on the pants. And my light blue's dried up already. Okay. Crap. And I put it away. His inseam wasn't painted. Yep, it is now. Okay. So all the pants are done. Now we're going to come back and do the same thing for the jacket. I should call them coats, because they are coats. So I went and had my blood drawn this morning. I had a doctor's appointment Wednesday, and he said sometime before my next appointment, to get some blood drawn because they want to do some tests. He wants to tell me I have diabetes. Which I believe I do have type 2. You know, so that's why I just what do you call it? Focus on my sugar intake and my exercise and stuff like that. But it's hard to do after this heart attack. Exercise, that is. So I had to not eat or drink anything the night before. So when I got home after the tests, I was super thirsty and hungry, and I'm hungry again. My stomach is acting like I haven't eaten anything. Now all I had was a bowl of soup, but still. And again, I'm only doing pale earth, right? Giving me like a light brown. I think I'm going to need a little bit more on my palette because I want to do more than one on a stick with the brown. Excuse me. But when I got there to draw blood, the girl that was taking my blood said they needed a urine sample. And I had peed right before I went in there. And so I went to the bathroom and tried to pee. And there was no problem. I was able to pee on demand. And I was like, what the hell? I just peed. Filled the cup up, and we were done. Yeah, I'm going to need a little bit more. I'm scraping the bottom of this barrel. Well, for one reason, there's more surface area for the coat than there is for the pants. Doing it again. Doesn't want to come out. I have a feeling that the mixing ball might have been keeping it from coming out. You got to hold it at just the right angle. I'm painting right over the strap for their haversack. But that's okay, because guess what? I haven't painted the haversack yet, or the strap. One good thing about these Militia, even though I'm having to switch colors so often, I'm not going to have to do collars and cuffs. I'm not going to have to do regimental colors or anything like that. So that's good. And then I'll have to take a look at the standard bearer and the drummer and the sergeant and see if any of them are wearing like provincial uniforms. Because like I said, they kind of looked like they were 7 Years' War. Now, if you shop at my eBay store, I do have a program going right now. Free shipping on all orders $50 or more. I added a bunch of Blue Moon, American War of Independence. I added a bunch of Blue Moon, 100 Years' War. I added Old Glory, 100 Years' War. I also have a couple of Army sets, or Army starters, I guess is what they call it. A Burgundian starter set and an English starter set. Both of those I think are over $100. So you would definitely get free shipping on those, but what else did I add? Some front rank officers, some Perry miniatures, Napoleonic officers, Some Dutch Belgians. I wish Perry did 15mm. I'm sure they would be really good. They got their start with 15mm, but then they quickly moved to 28s, unfortunately. Because now with the skill that they have, they would do great with 15s. Their original 15s were kind of like not that good. And that's probably why they moved away from them. Let me take a look at that guy. Yeah, he's got turnbacks. I might have to color those. Not turnbacks, that's not what I meant. Collars and cuffs. But he's the only one. The standard bearer doesn't have them. But the sergeant here with the spear, he does have it. Yeah, I pulled some riflemen out of the Blue Moon pack to do Morgan's rifles. They did not have any command, which I'm not really sure if I need command, but I wanted command. So I opened up a pack of command in hunting shirts and added them to the unit, and that left me with something like 22 miniatures. And I noticed there was a unit, I think it was the New York unit. I could be wrong, but one of those units. Oh, no. Not the rifles. Dearborn. Dearborn is light infantry. And, they have bayonets and stuff. But they had leather caps. Looked like helmets or whatever. I also noticed that the New York regiment that I was fielding also wears leather caps. They're not a light infantry unit, they're just different like that. So that actually worked out really good. I was able to do Dearborn and I think it's the New York 4th or something like that. I think. And I didn't do the rifles. I think I'm waiting for my Old Glory order to come in. Okay, so the light brown is actually quite done. I do want to do a couple of them with this blue. And none of these militia have bayonets. Which I guess I wouldn't expect them to have bayonets. That's kind of like a military issue item. But I think of the militia as like National Guard, even though that's not really correct. Because there were state units at the time. Militia would be kind of like untrained volunteers. I think. Or people that were in their home. I don't know. Because these guys wouldn't be locals, I don't think. I think they would have marched here with the general. They just don't have the training. And they didn't sign up for a contract, for like a year or 2 years or whatever. Yeah, I don't want to do too many with the blue. Actually, a red might be a good color to pull out. I think I'm gonna do a couple of them with red coats. It's kind of unusual that Continentals would steal or acquire British uniforms, either through their baggage train or what have you, and they would wear them. Not because they're trying to fool the British, but just because they were uniforms and they needed some kind of uniform. Basically, they were just trying to equip themselves. And there was a number of American units, a good number of American units that wore red. And you can only imagine the confusion on the Continental side. There's probably some friendly fire incidents. Well, probably not. They probably saw redcoats in the distance and thought they were the enemy and got ready, you know, lined up and ready to fire and all that. But when they got closer, they probably saw the flag they were carrying, or yeah, probably saw the flag and said, "Oh, those aren't British." But the British did have Americans fighting on their side. Loyalists. Not everybody wanted to secede. Kind of like today, where not everybody wants the same thing. Let's just use the Ukraine as an example. There are people in this country that want to support Ukraine, and there are other people that don't. They want that money spent inside the United States. And you guys can hold this against me if you want, but I'm a Republican, or at least maybe I'm more of an independent with Republican tendencies. But I believe in truth and facts and not feelings. But I also know that a lot of Republicans don't support the war in Ukraine, where I personally think it's imperative that we do. I think we really should support them. Now, I'm basing that on what I believe is to be true, which might or might not be true. But I think Ukraine is trying to become democratic. You know, they see the West and they see the prosperity in the West and they want a piece of that. I mean, it's greed, it's selfishness, but it's still uh still beneficial for the West to have Ukraine on our side. Mainly because all that grain and, I mean, the whole country is pretty much a farm. Except the Donbass, which is where their factories are. And in the big scheme of things, we're not supplying them with tax dollars. That's where people get confused. They think they hear the $200 billion and they say, wow, man, that money could have been used to, you know, fund healthcare or, uh, you know, law enforcement or the roads or whatever. And that's not what's happening. People don't understand that we're not sending a check with $200 billion on it. We're sending them airplanes. We're sending them tanks and Bradleys and bullets. And funny enough, we don't use those airplanes anymore. We were getting ready to put them in the airplane graveyard. I know you've all seen it. You know, with all the B-52s and we were getting ready to send them to the graveyard. And then instead of sending them to the graveyard, we said, hey, let's send them to Ukraine and get them to pay for it. Or, you know, let's send it to Ukraine and then we don't have to destroy them. We can get some use out of it. We got some M1s that are no longer being used. I mean, we use M1s, but maybe not this version of the M1. Or the M2 Bradley. We're getting ready to scrap them. But instead of scrapping them, we say, hey, let's send it to Ukraine. Well, how much do those airplanes cost? Well, about $200 billion. But instead of throwing that money in the trash, we sent it to Ukraine. And I am all for that. Get some use out of them. And then there's people saying, we shouldn't be sending money to Ukraine. Well, we're not. Technically. We're sending them equipment like bullets. And I don't know if you know this. I was in the Army. And we had this, I mean, I didn't work in supply or in munitions or anything like that, but they would call our unit. Our unit was technically, I was at the 101st for a good portion of my service. And my unit was considered part of the special operations. You know, we had the 160th and I was part of the Pathfinders. And we would support all different types of units. Won't get into it, but part of that agreement, or part of our duties, was to go to the munitions dump, if you want to call it that, and take bullets that was on the expiring list and go out and shoot them. For one thing, we got the practice. And our little munitions dump got to clear out all their expiring ammunition. So we got to fire, you know, we fired the Law and the Toe and 50 cal and 5.56, 7.62. Basically, we got to shoot all different types of ammunition that we normally would use in our missions. And my belief is anybody with a half a brain cell knows that instead of shooting them off ourselves, our expiring ammunition, we're sending it to Ukraine. So it's not like we're spending any money, because we're not. That's money that was going to be spent to replenish our stores anyway. But now we get to tell the world and Ukraine, hey, we just sent you $200 billion worth of equipment. And that's what Germany and Poland and all these other countries are doing too. Like they're taking their Leopard A5s and sending up their Leopard 1 A5s, sending them to Ukraine. They're basically doing the same thing. Instead of scrapping their Leopard fleet, okay, we got a chat. Hey, Go For It is saying hello. Hello, Go For It. Glad to see you're up and awake and on stream. Nobody's replied. Okay. I'm putting a question out, and I'm serious about this. Where are you guys located? Not only where are you located, but what are you doing while you watch this stream? Hopefully you're not rubbing one out. And if you are, okay, who am I to judge? I don't think I want to do very many green jackets. Maybe 2. Let's do 2. Whoops. That's my reading glasses. Okay, now speaking of glasses. So there's this magnifying uh, glass, but it's not like a disc that I have in front of my figure that I'm painting underneath. I've tried using those and I can't get them to do what I want them to do. The one I own is super short. It doesn't have a long neck. And then I was watching, who was I watching? Storm and Steel. I don't know if you guys watch him, but I do. I watch his videos. And he made a comment about he got these glasses and apparently he did a video on them, which I didn't see that video. But he said it's really changed his painting quality. And so, and he had a link on his YouTube video. I clicked it, it took me to Amazon, but it took me to British Amazon. And so the shipping was like crazy from England or whatever. So I looked in my US Amazon to see if it existed, and it does, but the price is higher. So comparatively, it comes out to pretty close to the same. Cheap with high shipping, or a little bit more expensive with free shipping. And the one he had in his links was a different brand, a different make than the one I found, but close enough. They're almost exact. And you've probably seen what I'm talking about on like jewelers or watch repair guys. They would put this headset on that magnified whatever they were working on. Well, this is not exactly that. Yeah. These are more like glasses that you wear that fit over your reading glasses or whatever glasses you're wearing. And it comes with 4 inserts that they just snap in. And each one's a different magnification. And it has like a little LED light built into it, so you can really light up what you're working on. And it's USB rechargeable. So if the light goes out or whatever, I can recharge it. It also has like a battery indicator on the side, so I can actually look and see if my battery is running out and if I need to recharge it. So that's pretty cool. And it comes with a head strap too to keep it in place on your head. But it's more like a second set of glasses that you wear over your current glasses. I'm not sure if I'm going to need my second set of glasses, but we'll experiment with different focal lengths with and without my glasses. They have one that you can take the thing and you can flip it up, like when you're not using it, or like if I need to read my computer screen. Okay, that's just a little bit annoying right there. Mainly because the green is super thick, because I didn't add any water to it. And it doesn't want to get down in that little spot. So let me add a little bit of this soap and water. See if I can't get it to go down. Voila, I'm in there. I'm in there too. Okay. It's almost like I just made a little green wash. Got it down inside those cracks. That the thick green didn't want to get into. That's another reason why you should add a little bit of water to your paint. Get it to be just the right consistency. Perfect. Like I said, I'm only doing a couple of green. And now the buff, I'm going to do the rest. I don't think I'm going to do any in this light gray. Actually, light gray? No, let's do... How many jackets do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4. Really? Hmm. Okay, 2 buff and 2 gray. I'm also painting the drum buff as well. The center part. Not the colored trim. The main body of the drum. I'm going to paint this provincial uniform buff. But I am going to go back in and paint the collars and cuffs. Probably red. This is supposed to be, in Freeman's Farm, it's a Connecticut militia unit. Okay, I think that's actually good. So when I get that magnifying glass in or whatever, I'm going to paint a unit using them. And I want to see if it speeds up the process or if it makes the process more enjoyable or easier to get into the fine details. Because all that matters to me. Speed is important because of commission painting. And detail is important because of my own personal details and commission painting. Okay. Now I'm not going to get rid of the buff just yet, but I am going to look through some of these small clothes and hit them with a buff. Only some of them. Others I'm just going to leave the primer. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. I don't want to make these guys look gaudy like their grandma dressed them. All right, graphite. Okay, nobody's answering. That's okay. You guys don't want to out yourself. Excuse me. Now there should only be two guys with a gray jacket. Well, this guy's got collars and cuffs. Maybe I paint him too. Yeah, before I paint the black on their hat, I want to do their hair first. Before I did their hair, I wanted to do the jackets because the hair is sitting on top of the jackets. They're ponytails. So I don't know if you guys are NFL fans, but I am, and I watched my Titans, and they did pretty good. They lost. But I'm still hopeful that they right the ship. It's only the first game. Yeah, none of these guys are going to have powdered wigs. They're all going to have brown hair. Okay. And I don't think I mentioned this in my last live stream. I meant to, but I didn't. My pricing scheme for my commissions are going to change um, slightly. Oh, I pulled this linen out. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, I know what I'm going to do with that. Not the prices per se, but the yeah, this is probably good brown. Yeah. Um, not the not the prices, but the add-ons. You know, like shipping and stuff like that. That's going to change. Um, I've struggled with this for the last year or so, and I do not understand how people can have any kind of problem um, with PayPal, right? I use PayPal exclusively, and I have customers that either don't know how to use PayPal or they don't understand how to use their credit cards or whatever. Okay, I think it was thin enough. I think I've already added water. Um, because I've had a couple of customers say to me that their credit card won't go through PayPal. Because what I do is I create an invoice, right, which then gets emailed to the customer, and then all they have to do is hit pay invoice, and it asks you how you want to pay, and one of the options is credit card. And so all you have to do is type in your credit card number and personal data and information or whatever and pay it. I've had hundreds of customers, maybe not hundreds, but I'm exaggerating. But I've had a number of customers, and I've used it myself with other people with no issue. You just click the link, put your information in, done. Paid. But I've had a couple of customers tell me, let me rephrase that. I've had one customer tell me that his credit card uh, doesn't work using that link. To me, that sounds like something you need to take up with your credit card company. Or maybe they view that as, you know, like a fraudulent charge or whatever, and they're putting a block on it. So just contact your credit card company and say, hey, I'm trying to pay this invoice using my credit card, and it keeps kicking it back to me. That's what I would do. Not contact the seller, me, saying, can I just send you a personal check I said yes because I want to get this over with. He goes, do you use this other payment company? Do you have an account with them? And I'm like, no. Why would I have it? Why would I use this other company that has like 1 star on the Better Business Bureau? Is known for its errors. I'm like, no, I don't have an account with them. Okay, I'll just send you a check. And normally, like last year, I had no problem taking checks or money orders from people. I would just drive down to the bank and make a deposit, right? No problem. And then it got to a point where I don't have access to a vehicle during business hours. Well, not always, but sometimes. Because my wife would take the car to school, right? And my son would take his car to work. And I'm sitting here painting, unable to go anywhere, like the bank, until they got home. Or they had a day off or something like that. So I found that to be annoying. So at the start of the year, I rewrote my payment schedule and told people, don't send me any miniatures unless you're able to pay through PayPal. I'm not accepting checks or money orders anymore. And if you don't have a credit card to pay through PayPal, just go down and get a prepaid card. Put the amount on the card and then use it on PayPal, right? It's super easy. I've done that like a million times before. And so that was going great until I received a box of figures from a customer that's done business with me, probably 5 or 6 times previously. So I know he's good for it. And I know that I've already sent him personally, because he was one of the reasons why I switched my policy, that I'm not accepting money orders anymore, because he was always paying me with money orders. And the reason why he was not using his credit card was personal reasons, right? Which I'm not going to get into, but he had some personal reasons why he couldn't use a credit card to pay me for painting miniatures. So I told him, previously, the year before, I said, no problem, just send me a money order, because I had no problem getting to the bank because I had my own Jeep, which I donated to a school to do like auto shop. It wasn't working. I tried fixing it. I couldn't figure it out. And it sat there for a year, so went ahead and donated it. And good cause and all that. Nothing more important than our youth. Maybe they'll grow up and be good mechanics. But at that point, I realized when it wasn't working, I realized I had no way to get to the bank, which normally I don't need to get to the bank. I can just make deposits using the app on my phone, except for money orders. Money orders, you can't do that. You have to be in person. So that was one of the reasons why I changed. But I thought about it, and instead of saying no, like they say in customer service, find a way to say yes. So I struggled with my situation and payment methods, and I figured out there's a way we can say yes by adding a small surcharge. So if you want to pay with a check or a money order, I'll just add a little sum onto the bill, for my inconvenience of having to either take the bus or get someone to drive me to the bank during business hours. That's not an ear. That is hair style. Like a squared off side. 17th, 18th century hairstyle. Oh, that's hair hanging down. That's a ponytail. What did I just do? Wet that down. Ah, perfect. I put a little bit too much paint in it, like covered the back of his jacket. Yikes. Okay, that's fixed. Okay, their hair is all done. I should put a little label on this bottle of paint that says hair, because I use it a lot for hair. So yeah, so in my new paint price scheme, I'm going to add that line on there of charges. And so that'll probably kick off in the next week or two, whenever I get a chance to sit down and actually do it. Okay. Black. I didn't realize this, but this is Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum Corporation. Testers.com. I didn't know that. I'm a big truster of Rust-Oleum and Testers. It is super thick, okay? High in the pigment count. I mean, a lot. So I added water to it to thin it down. This bottle only cost me $2.99. That's the same as one of these bottles. A couple of years ago, it's probably like $3 or $4 nowadays. But I'm going to thin my black down with a little bit of water. Excuse me. Now, if I thinned it too much, that's okay. Because it'll be like a contrast paint. All the details will be highlighted. Got to get in the light. See, if I had a headlamp, I wouldn't have to do that. Okay, we're just going to do the gaiters and the shoes, and then we'll come back and do the hats. Once my mixture starts to dry up a little bit, not much, because I'm only doing 18 models. I normally do about 48 models at a time, but that usually takes me more than just one day. But 18 models, land of the free. Every day I'm doing a unit, or every other day. It's pretty damn awesome. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm using a pretty sizable brush too on these guys. Oh, wait a second. This guy's got like a tongue on his shoe. I might have to go in and paint a belt buckle. Now he's got a sword sheath, and I will be painting it black, but not until after the hats. So I like to focus on one item at a time. It kind of keeps me on task. Now these are boots, but that's okay. They could be black boots. I'm going to paint the top of the boot with like a leather because it looks like it's folded over. Looks good. Where you caught? Oh, okay, right there. A couple of these guys, not many, maybe a handful, have like cartridge boxes. Most of them just have a haversack. That's why I got the linen out. I was going to paint their haversacks linen. And they all don't necessarily have to be the same color. Remember, everybody here is an individual. It's not really a unit uniform. And I could have painted some of their shoes brown, because that would be accurate, like a dark brown leather. And I still can, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave them this very light shade of black. It's almost a German gray because of the thinness by adding so much water. If I put a second coat on there, it'll be black. The wash is going to darken it down anyway, so and it's going to make it look a little brown because I use a army painter washes, and those are just various shades of brown, except I think the dark tone is black, but strong, soft, and light tone are just various shades of brown. And I normally use soft or strong. Now, like on Brunswickers, Napoleonic Brunswickers, I would use the dark tone because it's a black wash and because they have a black uniform. Or if I was trying to pick out like engine compartments or something like that on a tank, I'll use the dark wash. But normally on a uniform, I'll use soft or dark tone. I'm sorry, strong tone. Now, because these are militia, I'm going to be using strong tone because it'll really make them look dirty. It'll make them look undisciplined. Okay, just a little bit of a spin. See if I missed anything. Oh, I did. This guy's heel. Yeah, I'm using a 1. My brush is 1. 1 round, I think. Yep, 1 round. I'm using Nick Pro. I don't know if you see that, if it's focused, but Nick Pro, ever since I got them, I've really liked them. They hold their point pretty good. And they're not expensive. I got them off Amazon. Nick Pro. Highly recommended. And they have various sizes. I bought a kit that came with like 10 brushes. A 2, a 1, a 0, a 2-0, a 3-0, a 5-0. And some of them are called round, and then some are called flat, even though they're not flat. But you can see there is a difference in the way the bristles are. I'm not a big brush aficionado, but I like the round brushes best. Just the way the points hold. I use the flats sometimes. They're also good brushes. Okay, this guy's in Christmas colors. Light blue pants and a red jacket. I think Christmas when I see him. But he's going to be in a unit. He's not going to be standing out all by himself. He might stand out, but he's going to be mixed in with a bunch of other guys. Yeah, on the 40 by 30 base size for Land of the Free is like perfect for me. I think it's so perfect that I might start rebasing my Napoleonics to that. I don't know. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. I'm holding off on doing any basing or painting of my own personal Napoleonics until and I think I'm going to switch to inches. I was doing base widths, but like Meg, and not only Meg, but like, I think I'm going to switch to inches. It's more, I don't know, standardized. Okay, now do the rotational to make sure I got everybody's feet. Nothing stands out as being except for right there. Okay. Well, that's everybody's feet. Okay, great. Hat. I thought about varying the colors of the hats, like maybe some brown hats. The bicorns will definitely, or the tricorns will all definitely be black. The round hats, most of them will be black. But I think I want to have some that are brown. Maybe just a handful. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and do the spear tips black. They're not going to stay that color, but metallics go better on top of a black base coat. You can just tell the difference. This flag is probably going to be a gold or brass truck at the top. Where the sergeant is actually carrying a spear for combat. So that'll be metallic, like a silver-ish metallic. Okay, the drummer's got a corner turned up. I'm going to paint it black. This red coat on the end, he's got a round cap. I think I'm going to paint it black as well. It looks like a hillbilly. The front of his hat is flipped up. Well, because he's reloading and his hand is rubbing up against his hat, it looks like. Okay. So that means this round hat is going to be brown. Oh, dang, there's a lot of round hats on here. Okay. I'm going to do every other one black. Getting the underside of the hat's the tricky part, because I don't want to paint the flesh or the hair. That guy's got a tiny round hat, and that guy's got a giant round hat. And you might say, Derek, why are you painting underneath? You're going to base them and nobody's going to see the bottoms. Yeah, they will. I will. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on these round hats. Every other one is going to be black. These guys all have big, gigantic round hats. Like Mexicans. Is that racist? No, it's just the Mexican sombrero is just really big. Again, facts, not feelings. I was getting to a topic when I said that earlier, and then I got sidetracked. I don't know what. Whoop, these are bicorns, tricorns. I don't remember what my thought process was. Well, what topic I wanted to say. Oh, I think I was talking about Ukraine and all that. Yeah, just because I'm a Republican doesn't mean I don't want to fund Ukraine. And we're not funding it, we're providing equipment. So the Republicans that are Ukraine deniers need to look at where that money is coming from, not just see a dollar value and panic. And I believe in a meme from Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. And I think it's our responsibility to help them. I think it's our obligation. I know I'm... Okay, now before I go to brown, there's a few other things that I wanted to paint black. Like cartridge boxes, if there are any. So I'm just glancing around looking for a cartridge box. There's one on this guy right here. That is not a haversack. All right. What about... That's a haversack. See, there was only one on that whole strip. Cartridge box. That looks like a cartridge box. Okay. Haversack, horn, cartridge box. Oh, there's another one. Oh, he's the same pose, so that makes sense. So in Land of the Free, they don't really give you the stats of units specifically. They give you the stats that they might have, and it's up to the player or the scenario writer or whatever. None of these guys have, well, is that a cartridge box? Or is that a haversack? That could be a... Yeah, this one looks like a cartridge box. And if that one is a cartridge box, that means that one is a cartridge box. Okay. Okay. And this guy all the way in the back, kind of, I think it's a haversack. Okay, so that's what I'm going to paint it as. Okay. That's not it for the black. I have a couple of them that have swords. Just these two, I think. Or swords in sheaths. You'll never see this because that black on that dark blue, you'll never see that. Touching up a couple of their gaiters and shoes because I guess it was too thin. There's too much white shining through. Okay. Okay, maybe there's only one guy with a sword. It's the sergeant. Okay, just doing a little touch-up work. That looks good. That looks good. I'm looking at their hats and their cartridge boxes as well as their shoes. Now the brown hats, I'm not exactly which brown I want to use. Just flat brown? No, I don't think so. Pale earth? I don't think so either. Leather? Not really. I'm thinking it's more of a felt. They might be leather. But leather brown is a good brown to use. Chocolate brown, that might be the brown I use. Okay. See, this is flat brown. And I was planning on using that on the spear and the guidon, the standard. Okay. It's 1:30. Okay. I've been on here for 2.5 hours. So I might do another half hour on live. Actually, this brown looks good for a hat. Dark brown. No, it's too dark. In the bottle, it looks good, but I don't want anything that says dark on it. Flat brown. I just put that up. Okay. Ooh. Chestnut. No. Chocolate. Yeah, chocolate looks good for hats. Okay. I might do that. There you are. There's no sword hilts. There's no plates on their shakos. So brass, there's only one little thing that's going to be brass. Maybe two if I tip the sword sheath, which I'm going to do. So brass will be pretty quick. It'll just be the tip of the guidon and the tip of the sword sheath. Now when I do the Canadian units, I'm only doing the first Canadian for Freeman's Farm. Apparently there were Canadians on both sides. And the only Canadian unit that I'm going to field is the first Canadian. And I can't find a 15mm flag for them. So I'll be making it by hand. It'll be an orange flag with some letters that say core. Or just COR. Wait, this is chocolate. That's okay. Chocolate and flat are almost exactly the same. Okay, chocolate's a little bit darker. but that's okay. I'm okay with that. Or I should say flat brown is more of a brown. Chocolate has a little bit of gray in it, so it looks like milk chocolate. Okay. Because I painted one over the other just to kind of bring it all together. And by doing that, I can see the difference. Thought they were the same. But they're close enough that you can't really tell. Okay. And I could probably do the same for the drumsticks. Okay, this is where that magnifying glass might come into good use. But my point, or I should say another point, is I have those Dearborn infantry ready to go. I put them in a Ziploc, so I've already got them parceled out. And I think I'm going to do them and that, if it is the New York Regiment, the one that has the helmet. Okay. Okay, chocolate brown. I'm going to actually put you... it doesn't matter. I can... There's only like 5 hats, maybe even 4 hats. That's really all I'm painting with it. Oh, is the hats. Now I could get away with like gray and other colors, but I didn't want to. I kind of want them to look kind of dingy and worn. So I'm not putting any colors like blues or greens on their hats. That would probably be for some wealthy people. And if you're wealthy, you're probably getting a commission. You wouldn't be down here with the ground pounders. Now there are some pins that pin up the hats on the side. I'm going to have to do a little research and see what color those are. They might just be white, but they might be metallic. They might be like silver or brass. but I won't get into that on the stream today. When I finish these and I base them and I put them on the stream as my project update, you'll get a chance to see. Really something came alive in my head or in my heart when I started doing 6 figures on a 40 by 30 base. It like makes that base really stand out. The gaps and 6 figures on a base just look better. I know the Perrys have been doing that for years. But when I played Napoleon's battles, it was always 4 figures per base. Black powder is 4 figures per base. Technically, you can do 6 figures per base, but that's not like how they recommend. And that's not how they sell them. There's a spot right here I must have missed. There we go. Well, that's the chocolate brown. Go ahead and do a drop of brass real quick. Now I'm also painting something for my wife. It's a 3D printed Holy Grail model. And I was going to paint this brass. So I know I don't have enough brass in my palette. Wait, I think I hear the postman go by. You all know that I'm waiting on a million different packages. While we're at it, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Not that brush. I'm going to get a bigger brush. This is a 2 brush, a 2 Transin art. But it's weird. It's got a flat bristles. But for this project here, it's perfect. Now I'm trying to decide what color I want to paint the base. Well, I've already decided how I want to paint it. I want it to look like the cave entrance to the Warple Bunny's cave, which I think looked a lot like a quarry. If I remember right. But I'm not going to put like stones down or grass. But I think I'm going to paint it like some kind of earth tone. Like a really light brown, maybe. Maybe a tan. I could use some texture paste and use my light earth on it. That would be appropriate. That's not enough brass. I thought I was going to have enough. My son in Texas, he's in the Air Force, and he has a 3D printer, and he printed this. Yeah, I'm going to put just a little bit more brass. It would have looked better if I painted that black first. That's okay. And I believe his 3D printer is one of the less expensive ones. I don't know how much he paid for it, but there's lines everywhere. Whoops. Okay. Or you might just have a setting that he doesn't know about where he can adjust the DPI. Okay. That's all I need to do. I just wanted to brass up that crossbar. All right. You guys are starting to come together quite a bit, actually. Okay. This is what we're going to do. I have at least these colors. I'm going to paint the muskets this color, which is new wood. And then I'm going to paint the barrels gunmetal. I'm not going to use this oily steel. Yeah, we're going to use gunmetal. And haversacks. Black should be done. I can put that away. I've got some collars and cuffs. I'm going to paint red just to kind of make them stand out. And then I have some straps that I don't know if they should be white or if they should be leather. I think they're probably supposed to be leather. But if they're white, I'll use one of these two. And then it should be done. I just got to put the flag on, base them. Oh, I definitely have to do some white straps on the drum. And I'm also going to use this red around the top and bottom of the drum. All right. Oh, and the horn. The horn, I think, is a brown color. I'll figure that out. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to end the stream right here. Thank you guys for coming out and watching and hanging out with me for this morning. And look for a completed militia project. You know, my Freeman Farm project update should be coming out the next day or two, depending on how long it takes me to glue these to bases and flock the bases and everything. All right, I'm gonna go eat some lunch.